In this video, we will be taking a look at solving linear equations. Now let's get started. Now let's say we had x plus 7 is equal to 12. Now, our goal is to get the x on one side by itself. And to have that done, we need to do the opposite of this operation. So, to get rid of the 7, we need to subtract 7. But if we subtract 7 from one side, we would have to subtract 7 from the other side of the equal sign. Now, you take down the x. 7 subtract 7 is 0. And 12 minus 7 is 5. So our answer would be 5. Now let's say we had x minus 4 is equal to 3. Now, let's say we had the same x minus 4 is equal to 3. There are two ways we can approach this. But first, let's look at this, or both equations, intuitively. Now, what number, when we subtract 4 from it, we get 3. So we can look at this and tell that the answer would be 7. Now, we'll be working on a step-by-step process to get that answer. Now, as mentioned before, we would do the opposite of this sign. So we would add 4. But we have to add 4 to both sides. We take down our x, and this becomes x is equal to 7. Now for this equation, we can take the negative 4 and take it to the right. Now, once we change sides of the equal sign, the sign in front of that number changes. So this becomes x is equal to 3 plus 4, and that is 7. Now let's move on, and let's say we had a number n, that when we added 5 to that number, the answer is 15. Now, looking at this equation, we can tell that the answer for n will be 10. But we have to work in a step-by-step process to get that answer. So, as we mentioned before, we do the opposite of the operation here. So that becomes minus 5, and we have to minus 5 from the other side. And so we take the n down, we subtract 5 from 15, and n is equal to 10. Now let's look at another example. Suppose we had m minus 17 is equal to 9. What is m? You can pause the video and take a try if you like. Now, when we add 17 to both sides, we can bring the m down. This becomes 0, and this becomes 26. So m is equal to 26. Now, here's another example. What if we had 9.5 plus r is equal to 14? Now, Seeing this decimal or this decimal number should not change how you approach a question. So to find the value for r, we need to subtract 9.5 from both sides. This becomes 0. We pull our r down. And 14 subtract 9.5 should give us 4.5. So r is 4.5. Okay, here's another example. Suppose we had c minus 2.4. That is equal to 18. Solve for c. So again, we do the opposite of this operation, which is positive 2.4. But we also need to add it to the right of the equal sign. Now this becomes 0. We pull our c down. And 18 plus 2.4 should give us 20.4. And that's our answer for c. Here's another example. What if we had 26 is equal to 3 plus c? You can go ahead and pause the video and try this for yourself. Okay, now the same steps apply to get rid of the 3 on this side, so we can have v on the right by itself. We need to subtract 3. But if we subtract 3 on the right, we need to subtract 3 on the left. And so our answer becomes v is equal to 23. And also look at this equation. 15 plus b is equal to 23. Go ahead and try that for yourself. Now, to get b on the left by itself, we need to do the opposite of the operation here. In our case, this would be a positive 15. So we need to subtract 15. But if we subtract 15 on the left, we need to subtract 15 on the right. Now this becomes 0. We take down the b, and then this becomes 8. So b is equal to 8. Now, let's take a look at when our variable is negative. So let's say we had 5 plus 3 is equal to negative I plus 10. And also, let's take a look at 2 subtract 1 is equal to 3 minus b. You can go ahead and pause the video and try this for yourself. Okay, now what do you think we should do here? Now our variable I is negative. So in order to make I positive, we can add I to both sides, or we can simply take the I on the right, pull it across the equal sign, where the sign will then change to a positive. So let's try by adding I. So let's add I, and let's add I. So this becomes 0. We pull our 10 down, and this becomes 5 plus 3 plus I. Now that our I is positive, we can go ahead and perform the same steps again. So we can subtract 5, subtract 3, but if we subtract 5 and 3 on the left, we need to subtract 5 and subtract 3 on the right. So this becomes 0, this becomes 0, and this becomes I is equal to 2. And also, let's take a look at this equation. So we do the same on this side, where we add b, which is the opposite of this operation, and we also need to add b on this side. So this becomes 2 minus 1 plus b is equal to 3. Now, when we add 2 plus negative 1, we should be left with 1 plus b is equal to 3. And to solve for b, we simply subtract negative 1 from both sides, bring our b down, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So b is equal to 2. Now let's say we had two equations. 15 minus d is equal to 2, and 21 is equal to negative n plus 6. Go ahead and find d and n. So to find d, we need to add d to both sides as before. So this cancels, and this becomes 15 is equal to 2 plus d. Then we need to subtract 2 from both sides. Take our d down. This becomes 0, and 15 minus 2 is 13. So d is equal to 13. Now let's take a look at this equation. Again, we need to add n to both sides. So this becomes 21 plus n. That is equal to 6. Then we need to subtract 21 from both sides. And so n becomes negative 15. Now let's take a look at some other equations. So let's say we had 10n is equal to 40, and 15x is equal to 0. So what do you think we should do here? Now, this is 10 multiplied by n. And to get rid of the 10 on this side, we need to do the opposite of this operation. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 10. And if we divide by 10 on the left, we divide by 10 on the right. And this becomes n is equal to 4. Now let's take a look at the equation on the right. We do the opposite of this operation. So this is divided by 15, but then we have to divide 0 by 15 as well. And so x is equal to 0. Now let's say we had 14b is equal to negative 56, and also negative 104 is equal to 8x. Go ahead and solve for b and x. Now, as mentioned before, we do the opposite of the operation here, which is a multiplication, and that is division, so we divide by 14. But we need to divide by 14 on this side as well. These two cancel, and so we have b is equal to negative 4. Now on this side, we do the same thing. We divide by 8, as we're multiplying by 8 here, so we need to divide by 8 to get rid of that 8. And if we divide by 8 on this side, we need to divide by 8 on this side. And this becomes x is equal to 13. Well, negative 13. Now let's say we had v divided by 8 is equal to 2. And let's say we had 16 is equal to k divided by 11. Go ahead and solve for v and k. Now in this case, we're dividing by 8. So we need to do the opposite of this operation, which is to multiply by 8. But if we multiply by 8 on the left, we need to multiply by 8 on the right. These two will cancel, and so v would be equal to 16. Now on this side, we're dividing by 11. So we need to multiply by 11, which is the opposite of this operation. So if we multiply by 11 on this side, we need to multiply by 11 on this side. So these two cancel, and this becomes 176 is equal to k. Now let's say we had m divided by 4 is equal to negative 13, right? And let's say we also had k divided by 3 is equal to negative 3. Go ahead and find m and k. Now on this side, because we're dividing by 4, we need to multiply by 4 to get rid of that 4. And because we multiply by 4 on the left, we need to multiply by 4 on the right. So these two would cancel, and m becomes negative 52. Now on this side, we are dividing by 3, so we need to multiply by 3. And if we multiply by 3 on the left, we need to multiply by 3 on the right. These two would cancel, and so k is equal to negative 9. Now let's say we had an equation like this. 5y minus 2 is equal to 18. Go ahead and solve for y. Now, to get rid of the 2 on this side, we add 2, which is the opposite of this negative sign, and then we add 2 to this side, bring down our 5y, and this becomes 0, and 18 plus 2 is 20. And to get the y by itself, we need to divide by 5, as this is multiplied by 5, and we need to divide by 5 on this side. These two cancel, and this becomes y is equal to 4. Now let's say you also had 2g plus 3 is equal to 5. Go ahead and solve for g. Now, to get the g on this side by itself, we first need to subtract 3 from both sides. So this becomes 2g is equal to 5 minus 3, which is 2. And then we need to divide by 2. And this becomes g is equal to 1. And finally, I'd like you guys to try this for yourself. What is 3e divided by 6 plus 2 is equal to 4? Find e. So to find e, we first need to subtract 2 from both sides. So that becomes 3e divided by 6 is equal to 2. Now we need to multiply by 6 on both sides to get rid of the 6 in the denominator. And this becomes 3e is equal to 12. And to get rid of the 3, we need to divide by 3. And therefore, e is equal to 4. Again, guys, thank you for joining. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe.